Good morning, everyone. I'm State Senator Lou Correa. I'd like to welcome you to the California Senate. I also, in my role here, happen to be the chair of Senate Banking. And one of my past lives, I've had a few, I was actually a banker for about a decade. And the one thing you learn about banking, lending, and money is sometimes people make it more complicated than it really is. Lending money, making loans is really like anything else in the world, which is you have a product, you have a price, you have people that want it, some people that have it, and you come to a marketplace to make the loans. One of the areas in particular that I have taken a keen interest is on that group of folks in our communities that are referred to as unbanked, or people that have a very hard time getting loans. In particular, we're looking at that group of people that at the low end that don't have any credit, that are trying to get the basic loans to start building a credit rating, so to speak, so they can move up and get bigger loans at better interest rates. All of us have talked, all of us know about payday loans from $0 to $300. And then the other group of loans that we have addressed are the for-profit loans, and those are the loans from $300 to $2,500. But there's another set of opportunities here, and that is loans from $300 to $2,500 in the nonprofit area. Now, that's important because we're looking here at a product that is very cost-effective because it is issued by nonprofits, and it is a product also that, guess what? We in the legislature didn't create. It's actually a product that's been in existence for a very long time, and that is what's called in the community a tanda loan, which is a kind of loan which is kind of a revolving loan where folks get together and say this month, each one of us, 10 of us contribute $100, that makes $1,000, so this month you get the loan. The next month you get the loan, and people continue to repay into that fund, so to speak, so it continues to refund itself at a very cost-effective manner. Like I said, we didn't come up with this idea. It's already an idea in existence. And again, for folks that want to borrow from $300 to $2,500. So number one, we're going after a group that badly needs these loans. Number two, it's already working out there. Number three, very cost-effective, meaning the interest rates are very, very reasonable. And finally, the question is, why do we need legislation? Well, it's very simple. We are not sure whether these products actually need to be licensed, meaning do these nonprofit lending institutions need a license from the Department of Business Oversight to make these loans? We think they don't, but my bill today, Senate Bill 896, is designed to clarify the ambiguity in the law that says we're not sure if it does or if it doesn't need it. After my bill is law, then we'll know clearly that these nonprofits can make these loans without having to be going through the bureaucratic, expensive process of getting a lending license. Enough from me. What I like to do is these wonderful folks behind me are the people, the masterminds, so to speak, the geniuses in the community that are making these products work. I'd like to have them come on up individually and make some comments. First, I'd like to have Mr. Jose Quiñones, the CEO of Mission Asset Fund in San Francisco. Jose.
Good morning. Thank you so much, Senator Correa, for your kind introduction. We are very fortunate to have your leadership on this critical issue. And we look forward to working with you and your staff in the weeks and months to come to see SB 896 through the legislative process and onto the governor's desk later this year. The problem we're seeking to address is complex. I mean, even the words that we use to describe the nature of the problem are confusing. Unbanked, underbanked, financially excluded, underserved, thin file, no file, unscorable, credited invisibles, asset poor. I can go on and on. But no matter what word we choose to use, what we are talking about is that there's a reality that millions of Californians are in the sidelines without the tools necessary to fully engage in our economy, to live their full potential and realize their American dream. We started our work in San Francisco's Mission District with the goal of helping low-income recent immigrants grow and build their financial assets so that they can weather any storm, so that they can put down roots in the community and buy homes, start businesses, and reinvigorate the neighborhood. We wanted to help folks become owners, not renters. We wanted to help them succeed, not just get by. But our goals soon met the harsh realities of families struggling to survive. At that time, we learned that 50% of Latino immigrants in the mission had no checking accounts, and that 44% of mission households had no credit histories. At that point, we asked ourselves, how can we turn our clients into homeowners when they don't even have credit history? Really, what bank would give a mortgage to someone without a credit score? Or how do we turn a client into a business owner when they don't have a checking account? And we also quickly realized that the problems that we were facing were not unique to families in the mission. Families all throughout the Bay Area, throughout Central Valley, all throughout Southern California also face the same harsh realities of life without access to what you and I take for granted, which is safe, responsible, affordable, middle-class financial products and services. The very tools that we use on a daily basis, credit card, checking accounts, savings accounts, investment accounts, you name it. All of that is out of reach. And according to the FDIC, nearly 1 million households in California are unbanked. Over 57% of consumers in California have subprime credits, which means that they have to pay substantially more in interest on loans. And that's for those that have access to credit. Credit bureaus estimate that 21% of Latinos don't have enough credit history to generate a score, compared to 16% of African Americans and 8% of whites. And unfortunately, as we learn the magnitude of the problem of the unfairness that is in our economy, that those with the least pay the most to access financial services, we also recognize the solution of overcoming financial exclusion was already there. It was hidden in plain sight. It was already happening in the community. Immigrants have a rich tradition of coming together and pooling the resources to lend money from each other. People do this all over the world, and they're doing it right here in California, too. People call them tandas, cundinas, susus, many different names, and we call them lending circles. And what we do at MAF is formalize the activity by having participants sign promissory notes, and we service the loans and report the payment activity to credit bureaus. And we provide financial education and training to help them understand the opportunities and traps in the financial marketplace. The program works. Lending circles get 100% of participants banked and scorable. Participants learn to manage their finances, they pay down their debt, and increase their savings. And if enacted, SB896 will encourage more nonprofits to create programs like lending circles, alternative products that can really truly unlock the economic potential of millions of Californians. The bill will provide regulatory assurance for nonprofits that facilitate zero-interest loans, report to credit bureaus, provide financial education, and create networks with other nonprofits to extend their reach throughout the state. Truly, nonprofits are here because we want to help. We want to be enlisted in the effort to break down the barriers keeping low-income families from realizing their true and full potential. We just need to hear the call from our political leaders to make it so. And SB896 will do just that. And it's my pleasure to introduce one of our participants, one of our clients, Alicia, who will tell you some more about her experiences in participating in the Lending Circles program. Alicia?
Good morning. Hi, my name is Alicia Villanueva, and I am so proud be owner of Tamales Los Mayas. When I first started my business, I went door to door selling my homemade tamales with my 8-year-old son, Pedro, who is doing food service delivery this morning at the Mission District in San Francisco. Each week, I have enough money to buy supplies for 100 tamales, and if I sold them all, I will bring home a tiny profit. Every night, I spend hours preparing my tamales, and every day, I walk around selling them door to door on foot. At the end of a good week, I will end up with 200 profit. It was very frustrating and stressful time, but I didn't want to quit. I was working so hard, but there was no way with that little profit that I couldn't take care of all my bills. Like a lot of other families, we struggle with unemployment. That made everything harder. We have business debt that got bigger. I used to have a lot of bad stress, and nothing helped. Nobody trusts you when you have too much debt and and bad credit score, even though you want to work and do better. I remember my kids. My kids will ask me to buy them things, but I have to say, no, you have to wait. Life is difficult. But I keep going because I believe on my tamales business. Finding Mission Asset Funds was the answer to my prayers. I joined a lending circle and got my first loan of $1,000. That loan was just the support I need. I used the loan to invest in my business and buy my new equipment. It helped me to eventually open my own food car business in San Francisco. Actually, it's Alicia Tamales Los Mayas. Mission Asset Funds also helped me better manage my money. I took their financial management classes that helped me put my financials in order. I paid my loans off on time. I also got connected with some great nonprofits organizations that could help me, and I launched my first tamales car. From there, my orders and profits start growing. Now, I am proud to say I have 7 employees working with me, and now we are making 3,000 tamales a week. You will see soon be able to find my tamales in Whole Food Market grocery stores. And on Mondays, we make the filling of my tamales Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. We put them together. Fridays, we package them and deliver them to our happy customers. My employments are like my family to me, and we are so happy. We have one nice slogan that I always say, my tamales are stuffed with love, and the best people are stuffed with my tamales. Thanks to Mission Asset Funds, I'm saving money and paying down my debts. Now, I'm working on a business plan, on my second business plan, to open up my first restaurant. I really can say that I'm really living my American dream, and I am the happiest lady in the world right now. And wouldn't be without the support of Mission Asset Funds. On behalf of my Mission Asset Fund community and myself, we deeply appreciate so much your kind support to Mission Asset Funds, because they really, really, truly change our life, like mine right now. Thank you so much.
That was a beautiful story, huh? I'd like to introduce now Jorge Blandon, Vice President of F2 National. Jorge, welcome.
Thank you. Yes, good morning. My name is Jorge Blandon, and I work for the Family Independence Initiative, also known as FII. I'm here as one of the partners that works with Mission Asset Fund and the lending circles. And I want to thank Jose Quinones at Mission Asset Fund for the invitation. And thank you, Senator Correa, for sponsoring Bill 896. So quickly, I want to tell you a little bit about FII and why the partnership with Mission Asset Fund and Bill 896 makes sense to us. First, FII is a nonprofit. We believe that the solutions for breaking the cycle of poverty resides in the ingenuity, capacity, and resiliency of families themselves and their communities. We believe that families are the experts, and as such, our role is to stop, listen, and learn. And it's through these lessons that we're able to invest directly in the initiatives that families are taking every day to survive. We're able to pilot different resources, test them out, and also start to inform different practices and improve services. And this is how we learned about FI families, our families, partner families, that they had their own informal lending circles. And it was them that pushed us as an organization to partner with Mission Asset Fund so they'd be able to formalize their lending circles. You see, for families that opt to formalize a lending circle, it makes a lot of sense. According to our families, FI families, this is something that they were doing anyways. This is something they were doing to gain access to much needed capital. So facilitating the process with electronic transfers without sacrificing their model was very appealing. And the potential to improve their credit score or build a credit history was another benefit and a potential stepping stone for new opportunities. So as a result, we've seen families that have formalized their lending circles reduce their debt, use the funds to buy school materials for their children, buy gifts during the holiday, and be able to buy supplies and materials to grow and expand their businesses. We even had one family that was able to leverage the capital from the lending circles to use as a down payment on a home. So we started with one lending circle in partnership with Mission Asset Fund, soon grew into 8 groups with about 50 participants and about $60,000 in pooled funds. Now, I know this may not sound like a lot of money, a lot of pooled funds, but we know that we're only scratching the surface. We have families that are lined up that want to formalize their existing lending circles. So for FII as an organization, the partnership represents a tool that is leveraging the natural capacity and ingenuity of families. The partnership allows us to model an approach on how to meet families where they're at without us as an organization having to build expensive and heavy organizational infrastructure, technical infrastructure, or having to create a lot of staff. Ultimately, by allowing these types of partnerships to grow, we feel that families will have access to a resource that fosters economic mobility based on what we have learned directly from the families, and that is, connect people to each other, let them make their own choices, and provide access to resources they need to fuel their ideas and inspirations. And we believe partnerships like these do just that, and we believe Bill 896 does just that. Thank you.
Now, our final speaker today is Marisabel Torres, Policy Analyst, Wealth Building Policy Project with the National Council of La Raza. Marisabel.
Hello, good morning. I'm excited to be here and show support for SB 896 on behalf of the National Council of La Raza. And now I actually have a craving for tamales. As the nation's largest Hispanic civil rights and advocacy organization, part of NCLR's work is to ensure that the Latino community has access to the safe and affordable financial products and tools that help individuals and families to save their hard-earned income and build a strong financial future. Financial products like these zero-interest and credit-building loans that we're talking about today are the kinds of products that this community needs. We're happy to support our affiliate Mission Asset Fund and the Senator in their efforts here today. Our communities are working to regain their financial footing coming out of the Great Recession. Many families are still struggling to make ends meet, however, and from time to time, they will need to seek assistance in the form of a loan. Unfortunately, many harmful financial products are marketed to target our families, who are also more likely, as we've heard, to reside outside of the financial mainstream. Prevalent in many low-income neighborhoods, payday loan products with exorbitant interest rates will trap borrowers into cycles of debt. Though these products are facing increasing regulatory scrutiny at the federal level, these companies stay in business because there are so few alternatives. Our communities need better and safer options, which is what this bill will help to make available across the state. Nonprofits like Mission Asset Fund are the organizations that are familiar with the needs of the community that they serve. This bill will help them to expand their ability to meet those needs. In addition to providing the infrastructure to facilitate the loans, Mission Asset Fund knows that their clients also need the right financial information to help them become savvier borrowers. Individuals who complete this lending circle walk away with not only the financial resources that they need, but valuable financial management education that will help their long-term financial stability. The bill's financial education component will expand access to this critical financial resources to the communities that need it and often lack access to it. Another important feature of this bill is that under the model, nonprofits will actually work with borrowers to make sure that they are fully aware of the terms that they're signing on to. And they'll also make sure that these borrowers are able to afford the loans that they're seeking, which unfortunately, as simple as it sounds, is not always the case when you enter a loan. NCLR is happy that Senator Correa is leading California in taking this important step and expanding access to the safe and affordable financial resources for its hardworking families. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Marisabel, I've got to correct you because I'm not leading the charge. Actually, you are. I'm essentially just clarifying the law to make sure that you don't have to go through the regulatory process of getting a license to make the loans. So I congratulate all of you for job well done, the effort. And let me just summarize very quickly, and we'll open it up for questions. What's the challenge? Folks at the lower level who need a loan, who need to borrow money. This is a product, $300 to $2,500. Where does the seed money come from? It comes from the community. People pool their money, and then each month or each period, one person gets that money. Then the next period, that person gets the next set of assets. What's the interest rate? 0. So these are nonprofits that are making the loans. The nonprofits also take care of the paperwork and make sure that the repayment is documented. Why do you need the documentation? To create a credit history. Why do you need a credit history? So they can go out and borrow, buy a house or make additional loans to your business, et cetera, et cetera. Very simple concept. It's probably one that's been around for hundreds of years. And what we're simply doing is clarifying the laws in the state of California so our banking regulators don't shut it down. I'm going to open it up for questions now. Yes.
I have a question for Mr. Quinones. And I'm hoping you can, I'm having trouble getting my arms around the concept. It sounds pretty simple, but what you have is almost like a cooperative where each participant in the cooperative puts in a small amount of money. Yeah. And that's the only capital involved?
That's right.
There's none from donors to a nonprofit or whatever. So the capital is exclusively comes from the members of the cooperative, for better word, for the lending circle.
That is exactly right. So 10 people, each put in $100. You have $1,000. So it's sort of like a closed circuit loan lending circle, if you will. I mean, really the genesis of credit unions actually derives from lending circles themselves. But it's still happening. The issue is that it's happening informally. Nobody knows about it. Nobody recognizes it. Nobody's tracking it. Nobody's reporting it. But the payments and the loans that are derived from the circles are exactly the same as when we borrow money from banks. The way we borrow money, we pay them back. But in our situation, with protections and regulations, that gets recorded and reported to credit bureaus. But in these informal lending circles that are happening all over the place, nobody's recording and nobody's reporting. So what we have been able to do is try to create the mechanism to record and report in saying that this is bona fide financial activity that should be part of people's credit histories. And then through that payment, we actually do help people build credit scores so that they can go to the banks of the world, the credit unions of the world, the other lenders of the world with a credit score so that they can actually get other loans, from the financial industry.
And you're aware of how many of these nonprofits similar to yours across the state?
Similar to what? No, it is similar to us.
No, but well, okay.
Sorry,
based on
exactly.
at least based on the same model.
No, well, I think we definitely have pioneered this idea, but more importantly than just saying, oh, there's lending circles, we're actually sort of saying that there's a strategy of actually interacting with people that are in the financial fringe in ways of helping them, get, zero interest loans, and in that being the basis of getting them into the financial mainstream. So there are a lot of other nonprofit organizations that provide financial education, provide IDAs, provide a lot of other sort of
and would it be your hope if this legislation passes that others would replicate your model?
And what the legislation really does is assures that there's less regulation, so
Right.
these folks can operate without having to go to the state financial regulators and say, I need a license, which would mean
Right.
you'd have to pay more money to the lawyers to get you the license.
That's
So
right.
what we're trying to do is streamline it, get out of the way so they can do more of the good stuff they're doing.
That's exactly right. I would say that it's sort of a,
Yes, Steve?
Yeah, how do you limit what's done with the money? Is it that between the deal you have with the lender, or how do you?
well, it's people's own money. So if Alisa wanted to invest it in her own tamale factory, then by all means. If somebody wants to use it to pay for rent, by all means. If somebody wants to save it to, buy a home down the road, by all means. So we allow people to make their own decisions because it's their own money. So what we're doing just essentially are servicing it and empowering them in the process. But so we don't limit it in our general lending circles program.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the main goal is to help them use this to build a credit history. So.
And also to provide the financial training and education so they can understand how the system works, so they can understand the opportunities and the pitfalls that are out there, so that they can make good decisions for themselves down the road.
Before you walked in, Steve, Alicia here has a tamale operation with that. Before she got the loan, she was what, 100 tamales?
100 tamales.
Oh, now
Right
how many?
3,000 tamales per
A
week.
week.
Oh.
So what she did is got her loan and bought more equipment and just, started snowballing it. A lot of the, her own personal labor of love, working at home with a family, making
Yeah.
the tamales, but with the money she was able to grow. And now she's got a whole operation.
I really nice. I have a nice team of 7 ladies working for Tamales Los Mayas. So I'm so happy, really living my American dream.
Where do you live?
I'm living in Berkeley, but my business is growing in San Francisco.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Alicia,
So-
can you share with us your last name and how?
Alicia Villanueva is Villa Victor, ILLANUEVA.
Thank you.
If somebody, these payday loans, with their really high interest rates. What if someone came along and wanted to, make this a sustainable business, but just maybe a reasonable loan amount, whatever, I don't know, however you determine that, a more market-oriented rate. Is there anything in there that would allow this, or would
We're
that
probably looking at a little bit of different modification of the legislation, since you're talking about charging an interest rate.
Yeah.
And you could probably look at that as well. Eileen, what do you think?
Last year, there was a piece of legislation that Senator Correa co-authored, SB896, that focused on for-profit businesses that were charging interest rates, reasonable interest rates, and making loans between $300 and $2,500. I think your question is really sort of focused on last year's bill.
Yeah.
This year's bill is really focused on removing the regulatory barriers for the nonprofits.
And let me make an important point. I know where you're going with this. Do you want to, if somebody wants to come into lower interest rate, they certainly can right now. The question is, do you have to apply for the lending license? I would probably say yes. Does this bill take care of that? Probably not.
Okay.
But understand the unique nature of this business, which is it's a non-for-profit.
Right.
The capital is essentially zero cost because folks are lending to themselves.
Right.
So the cost of capital is zero. What you haven't focused in is the overhead. Okay, there's going to be some overhead for this
Yeah.
gentleman's
Yeah.
salary and the backroom accounting, and that is essentially by contributions of Good Samaritans to the nonprofit.
Right.
Right.
Okay, now in the future, should we want to look at maybe another model where you have cap the interest rate a little bit low? I don't know, lower interest rate with less regulation or something of this sort? That is clearly a possibility.
You're open to that.
Yeah, but the point of this legislation is what we're doing is taking a model that's already working, and it's not only in the Hispanic Latino culture, I believe in the Asian cultures as well. This has been happening as well for hundreds of years. So we're taking something that's working, legitimizing it, documenting it, so that'll help you in terms of building your credit score, which is the second benefit of doing business like this.
Senator, there have been multiple attempts over the years in this building to try to cap the fees charged by payday lenders, regulate that community. You've, as recently as last year, opposed bills to do that in committee. Do you see this as perhaps a more market-based approach that might lower some of their costs?
In general, my belief of the market is you don't try to limit people's options or alternatives. What you rather do, give people more options, okay? Payday is an option. A lot of people use it. This is another option, and people will also use this option. As Eileen was talking about last year, we try to work on the for-profit option, which was to try to increase the rates, interest rate caps, and the fees that you could charge on loans from 300 to 25. This is the nonprofit side of it, which is essentially assuring that we're not raising the caps, we're not saying you can charge fees, but rather they don't have to go out and get a lending license. And I hope that we're out there, you know, trying to scour our communities and find other practices that we can, you know, legitimize, so to speak. And I'll tell you, it was interesting because as I was listening to this gentleman talk about his business practice, I was hearing about these tantas going on in my community when I was like 10 years old. But I just never came to me that this would be the way to do it.
One of the real critical and monumental things about this particular bill, and I cannot underscore this enough, is it will be the time when the state of California would recognize this activity that is common, that is something that's happening already, not just in the Latino community, like the senator said, but it's happening with a lot of other immigrant communities just as well. But having that recognition, official recognition, is so valuable. It's so important because that sends a message, to Alicia and everybody like you, that what they're doing with the money is legitimate. It should actually be not just highlighted, but uplifted as an example of how communities can come together, help each other out. But the state, with that recognition, with that sort of regulatory assurance of it, I think it'll open up the door for more innovation, more creativity within the nonprofit sector to do more of that activity. So it's not a payday loan specific issue. This is more about, let's look at everything that's happening in the community and figure out how we can help bring out the good things that are already there, and have the state sanctioned it with some, with that regulatory assurance.
How hard is it to get a lending license now? Is it what? Just trying to see.
It's impossible. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. No, it is. I mean, there's definitely some hurdles, but I think for the nonprofit sector, and I can say that there's a certain block of oh, I don't want to do that because now I'm gonna have to deal with all these bureaucracies and paperwork and things like that. And I think there's no sense of a welcomeness to the nonprofit sector, and that's not to say that there aren't any nonprofits already with lenders license, and I know a lot of them, and they're doing great work. But I think we also sort of have to address those smaller nonprofits that may not want to go through the hurdles of getting a lender's license, but get this other recognition through this other sort of approach. And I think we'll be able to sort of attract more organizations into the field.
And Steve, also let me just frame it another way, which is there is a cost to going through that process, legal process of getting a license, of going through the regulatory hoops. Cost of capital, zero.
Right.
But they've got to figure out how to take care of the overhead. And again, nonprofits, people give to the nonprofit, and that's really where the overhead is going. So you lower the overhead, the more successful they are.
That's right.
You had me at less regulation. So.
Really? No.
Excuse my cultural ignorance here, but you've mentioned twice now Tanta loans.
Tanta.
Could you explain to me the origins of that, what it is? And
I don't know what that's the word I used to hear.
it's something that was going on in the community that you were aware of even as a child.
Tanda means,
it's
beat
like
me over the
saying.
head. Tanta is something else.
Well, Tanda is like taking your turn.
Can you spell it for me?
Tanda.
Okay,
Yeah, Tanda. Like in the Caribbean, they call them susus. In the Cundinas, the Filipino community call them papawanas. I mean, in China, they call them a lot of different things. I mean, so this is an activity that happens all over the world. And we're just sort of saying, hey, that's actually incredible when you think about people come together and pool each other's resources, poor people putting their own money, and all by base of trust. They're just trusting each other, and they're doing it already. That should be highlighted. That should be uplifted. That should be sanctioned. And the state should recognize that. And I think this is what this bill does. saying that that's actually a good thing, and it's a good starting point to get them into the financial mainstream. So it's not to say that the one is going to overtake the other. It's more like this is how we educate them, this is how we train them, using their own resources, their own money, and that's how we get philanthropy to sort of kind of invest in this particular work. And then we partner with other organizations to do likewise, and that's how we kind of reach scale and go beyond just, San Francisco.
And I would like to give a comment. Like for me, my business is really helpful, the circuit land, because you feel the feeling is like freedom. That because if you go and get a loan, the interest kills you, Yeah, so now for me, although I have to work hard, and I know that I have to pay this money, but it's less stress. Yeah.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And Steve, again, before you walk in, there's another story about a person who took their funds when they received them and used it for a down payment on a house. So,
yeah,
you have the freedom to invest the way you see fit.
That's right.
Highest and best use. Thank you very much for being here today. And
Right,
I'm going to conclude by saying, folks out there in the nonprofit world, if you come up with any other jewels like this, any other gems, hidden gems out there, bring them forward. This is a great idea.
Yeah.
Again, it's not mine, it's yours. I'm just here as a piano player. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
thank you.